Okay, so if you don't have any queries, I'm starting with today's session. Today we will start with CSS. So I am sharing my screen now. Just confirm if it is visible. Guys, quickly confirm if you can see my screen. Others, what about you? Can you see it? Okay. Okay, so today we will start with table tag in HTML. Whereas if possible, I will take it. Okay, so CSS, as we discussed in the last class, we have three different languages in web development: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We are already done with HTML, so like how to create structure of the website. Today we will see CSS, so it means how we can design and style the websites. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it will describe that how we will place our HTML elements on our website. Now there are three different ways using which we can add CSS in HTML. We have inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. We'll see all three one by one. Let's start with inline CSS. Okay, great. Okay, फक्त एक. Yes, guys, can you see my compiler? Okay. So first of all, we will see what is inline CSS. In inline CSS, what we do is we use an attribute called style inside the tag itself. So for example, if I'm creating a paragraph using p tag, and if I execute this code, okay, this is how paragraph is displayed. Now let's say I want to change the font color or background color of this using inline CSS. What I will do, I will mention one attribute. Now attribute will be always mentioned inside the opening tag. So attribute name is style, and CSS code will always come in property value pairs. Okay, name of the property colon value of the property. So if you want to change the font color, property name is color, color, and value. Let's say I want to give red color to the font. Okay, you can see font color has been changed. So this is how inline CSS is used. Style attribute. Any questions so far? Guys, quickly, if there is any question, let me know. If you don't have any question, please create a heading using H1 or H2, and you have to change background color of that heading. Once you are done, let me know. Okay, then I'm moving on to next point. Next, we will talk about internal CSS. Okay, so let's say I'm creating a heading tag. This time I will use internal CSS to change the background color of heading. In internal CSS, what we do is we take style tag, okay, not attribute, style tag, and we place it inside the head section. We'll use style. Now inside this, we have to use one selector. Okay, we will see the selector types in the next 5 minutes. For now, let's say I'm just writing h1. Okay, h1 is an element selector. So what I'm doing is I'm saying that I want to change the background color of h1. Then in curly braces you can define the property value pairs. I want to change background color, so property name is background hyphen color, and let's say I want to give yellow color. Okay, so what this will do, it will select all the H1s that are present in your HTML, and it will apply this particular style to it. Any question in internal CSS? Yes, anyone? If no question, your task is you have to change now font style of paragraph. Create a paragraph and using internal CSS, change the font style. Guys, once you are done, let me know. Okay, shall I move on to next point? Guys, quickly respond yes or no. Shall I move on to next point? Okay. Now we will talk about external CSS. Okay. Now, as the name itself says external, so it means we will be using a external CSS file. Okay, let's say, let me just create it, and I'm naming it as style.css. Okay. CSS files will always have extension .css. Consider I am creating a heading using h2 tag, and this time I want to change font style of this, but I will use external CSS. So simply I will go in my CSS file. I want to change style of h2, curly brackets, and font style. Okay, and I want to make it italic. That's it. Now there is one more thing. Even if you execute this, you will not see any change in the font style. Because when you use this external file, you should link it with your HTML. Okay, you should provide the proper path. So again, you will go inside your head section, and to link your CSS file, you will use link tag. In href attribute, provide path of your CSS file. And there is one more attribute called relation, REL. In that, we will mention the value as it's a style sheet. Once you do it, you can see the style is applied. Any question in external CSS? If you don't have any question, Uh, Please try using this external CSS. Okay, so I'm moving on to next point. Now we will talk about CSS selectors. Now CSS selectors are nothing but selectors will define how we want to select particular element. We have 5 different types of selectors. Element is there. Guys, if there is any question, put in the chat box. We have element selector, ID selector, class, universal, and group selector. Okay, let's start with element, which we have already seen. Element selector is nothing but we are directly using element name in order to select that element. Okay, so again, selectors you can use in external CSS and internal CSS. So here I mentioned H1. I directly use the element name in order to select that element. So this is a element selector. What will happen in case of element selector? It will select all the elements. So let's say if I have one more H1 in my file, this will select all H1 elements and it applies the style. So you can see if I execute it, the second H1 also it applied the same style. That's what element selector is. Same thing I did in the external CSS as well. I'll just write a comment over here. Now next we have ID selector. In ID selector, what we do, based on elements ID, we will select the element. We have ID selector in case you want to give a unique style to some element. Okay, in that case, we use ID selector because ID will be unique within that page. So take an example of this H1. Okay, For second H1, I'm giving ID as, let's say I1. What I want is for this H1, I want to also change the font color. Okay, only for this H1. So I provided ID, and in CSS, ID is defined using hashtag. Name of the ID is I1, and I want to change font color. So property name is color, and let's give blue color to it. Blue you won't see. I'll give red. What ID selector will do, it will select only that specific element with the same ID. And see, if I execute it, you can see it applied the font color only for the H1 whose ID is I1. Clear about ID selector? Okay. Guys, I will explain you all the selectors and then you can work on the task. Next, we will talk about class selector. Okay. Now, class selector is basically same as ID selector. It will select the element based on class name. But the difference is you can give same class name to more than one element. Okay. So let's say I am having, okay, let's say for this H1 and H2, I'm providing a class as C1. Okay. Same class I'm giving to H2 as well. Let's define style as in CSS we define class using a dot operator. Class name is C1. Let's say I want to give border to like that particular thing. So I will mention border property. Now for border, you have to mention three values. First is thickness of the border. So I want 2 pixels. Then whether you want a solid border, a dash border or dotted border. I want a solid border, so I will mention solid. And color of the border is, let's say, green. Okay, you can see for all such elements with class C1, it applied the border. So this is class selector. Any question? Okay guys, no question, right, in class selector. Now next is universal selector. Now universal selector is just like, let's say you want to apply a common style to your entire website or entire page, to all the elements. In that case, you can directly use universal selector, and universal selector is represented using a star. And you can define any style that you want. let's say I want to provide uh, font family, same font family to all the elements. And let's give Arial. Okay, I'm giving sans serif. Okay, you can see all the elements are having the same font. So this is what universal selector is. Is it clear? So guys, if you don't have any doubt so far, your task is you have to create different elements in your page and also try all the types of selectors. Element ID, class, universal. And once you are done, let me know. तुला चहा वगैरे काय? नाही. Okay, great. Others, are you done? Okay, so shall I move on to next point? Okay, so yeah, I have already explained you how to change background color and font color. Guys, instead of directly name of the color, you can also use RGB and hex values. Okay. Next, we will talk about one layout element, which is CSS flexbox. Okay. This CSS flexbox is a layout element which was introduced in CSS 3. And using this, you will be able to align all your divs properly, and you can also center a div easily using Flexbox. So let's see how we can create it. I'm removing all the things because I don't need it. Okay, so let's say I'm creating a div, and inside this I have 3 more divs. Oops. If this is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now once we execute it, this is how divs will be displayed. Okay, one by one. Let's give some style to all the divs. So I'll use class, let's say element. And I'm using external style sheet dot element, and let's give some background color to it. And okay, I will also give margin 20 pixel. Okay, let's give some padding as well. Okay guys, margin is the blank space around your element, and padding is blank space around the content that you are creating inside element. Okay, so when you give padding, you can see, okay, I'm getting space around like this one. Okay, this is my content, 20 pixel padding from all the sides. Okay, I'll also give like proper height and width to it. Not height, I'll give width. And width much. Okay, so by default this is how our elements will be positioned. Okay, so using Flexbox you can align it horizontally, vertically, you can align it in center vertically as well as horizontally. So to do that, in my parent div I'll give some class. Let's say this is my container. And there is a property called display, and value of this property will be flex. And can you see when I mentioned display flex, this was positioned horizontally. Okay, I will give some background color to it just to differentiate, and also border. Guys, just a second. Okay, now to just like to align these elements, we have two different properties. Justify content center. Okay, so when you do it, your elements will be aligned in the center horizontally. Okay, you can see. And there is another property which is align items center. Using align and item center, you can position your elements in the center vertically. Okay. Right now we don't have like it was positioned vertically as well. So, but when you use align items, it will be positioned vertically in the center. Okay. So let's say if I try to increase height of this 500 pixel. Okay. What is happening? Okay, you can see elements are not aligned in the center vertically. When you give this property align item center, okay, you can see it is aligned in the center vertically as well. Now there are few more other properties of flexbox as well. Like you can also mention the flex direction. Whether you want it in the row, which is default one, you can also make it column. So again, it will be displayed vertically. So flex direction column, you can see. Any question in the flex box? Then please create different divs. Okay, first see how they are placing and then use flexbox. Once you are done, please let me know. Okay, guys, I'm moving on to next point. Now we will see the next layout, which is grid layout. Okay. With the help of grid layout, we can align the elements in the grid-like manner. Okay. So for that, I will create few more elements inside my container. Let's say 9. Okay. So what I want is I want to display it in the grid structure. For example, like this table-like manner. Three elements, three elements on the first row, then three in the second, and then next three in the third. If you want to do that thing, you can use your grid layout. So for grid layout, what you will do is simple. In display property, you will have to mention grid. Okay. So first of all, let's see what will happen. Okay. Let me just remove this height from here. Okay, so by default, this is how our elements are placed. Now, in this grid, we have one property using which you can mention number of columns you want in the first, you want in the individual row. So let's say the property name is grid hyphen template hyphen columns. Let's say I want 3 elements in a single row. So I will mention auto, auto 3 times. You can mention the size also, but I am mentioning it as auto size. So you can see how elements are aligned. 3 elements in one row. So this is grid layout. Any question? Shiva, div is like division tag. If you want to create like different, consider if you want to create different divisions on your page, you can use div tag. Guys, is there any question in the grid layout? Yes, anyone? Like try this grid layout. Uh, Arrange number. You can use text align property, text align center. Guys, once you are done with it, kindly let me know. We will discuss that now. So for now, is there any question in any of the part we discussed today? Yes, Kapil. We will be learning about box model in the next class. I guess in next class we will see box model and media queries. So guys, shall I move on to tables? Yes, Kapil, we will be learning about that as well. I guess we have more two classes maybe based on CSS. So we will be learning about transition and animation as well. Okay, so I'm moving on to tables. Okay, I don't need this now. Okay, so now guys, in HTML, we also have like one element using which you can create tables. So just like the normal tables we have, okay, we will have few rows inside it, which will be divided into columns, correct? So we have 4 rows and 3 columns. Now in the first row, we will always have headings, correct? Let's say name, age, and gender. These are the details we are taking. And then from the next row onwards, we will add the values. Okay. So these are the headers we have. Okay. Table, first of all, we will have the rows, and rows will be divided into columns. Same logic we will use. So first of all, we use table tag. Now what we discussed, we will first create the rows. Okay. So first row. To create a row, we use tr tag, table row tag. Now row will be divided into columns. So now again in the first row we have headings, three headings we have. Okay. Now to divide it into 3 different columns, and that too in the heading columns, we use th tag. Okay, let's say my first column is name, and next is age and gender. Okay. So once I execute this, you can see it created a row with headers, name, age, and gender, 3 columns. Now you are not able to see any partition because you will have to provide it using border attribute and thickness. Okay. Now similarly, to create the next row, you will again use the tr tag. Okay. Again, you will be dividing it into 3 columns. This time, we will be inserting data inside the columns. So for that, we have td, table data tag. Let's insert the values. Okay. And okay, you can see it added one more row and along with 3 columns. Similarly, you can keep on creating as many rows you want. Clear how we create tables in HTML? Yes, guys, is there any question in the tables? Guys, I hope I'm audible. There will be 4 columns: element name, atomic number, atomic mass number. No questions. Okay. So please create a table with at least, you have to create periodic table. There will be 4 columns: element name, atomic number, atomic mass number, and the symbol. And at least create 10 rows. Once you are done, please put D in the chat box.